welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Lake Norman. My name is Jim Price. I've been a member of the Lake Norman congregation for about a year. I've been a Unitarian since 2012. We welcome you today, whether you're our regular members, visitors, friends, or somebody just tuning in for the first time. We have a good presentation today. I am the worship coordinator for our speaker today, Reverend Justin Martin. Our fellowship and members follow different paths to find purpose and meaning, but we are united in the belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all beings. We are a liberal and open faith community, and everyone is welcome, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, economic status, or ability. Opening words today are written by a Unitarian, Judith Quarles. At this hour, in small towns and big cities, in single rooms and ornate sanctuaries, many of our sibling Unitarian Universalist congregations are also lighting a flaming chalice. As we light our chalice today, let us remember that we are part of a greater community of faith. May this dancing flame inspire us to fill our lives with the Unitarian Universalist ideals of love, justice, and truth. And our congregation's words for lighting the chalice are as follows. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In our search for truth, may we be just. In our search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. Our speaker today is an ordained Unitarian minister, the Reverend Justin Martin. Currently, Reverend Martin is an associate pastor at the Caldwell Presbyterian Church. He has preached at UUFLK many times. He loves fermenting anything he can, read into that what you will, and listening to jazz. He has an amazing wife who is busy saving the world as an environmental attorney, and 3 rambunctious children who are busy destroying his house during the quarantine. And though he didn't add this in his biography, when I chatted with him, he told me that homeschooling these days is challenging. That's probably putting it mildly. The name of his presentation today is The Ember of God, and I know we will all be blessed by his words. Please welcome Reverend Justin Martin.
Good morning. Welcome once again to my living room. It is what at least seems to be about the 200th week of being stuck in my home right now. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting a little grumpy about it. It's, it's been a thing. I've been, essentially locked in here with my children, and we're all just a little more grumpy about everything than we used to be. And we're all, getting a little more cynical about all of it. Like my kids aren't going to be going back to school. I don't know, plenty of yours aren't either. And instead they're going to be here at home, and they're talking about, well, maybe they'll be back to school after Christmas or something like that. And my response has gone from an optimistic, oh, maybe, to a, yeah, right. And that's like not a place I normally like to sit. I'm reminded of, I used to be, a long time ago, I used to live in New York, and I used to be a youth minister there. And I lived with my best friend, Ed Delaire, and we were both youth ministers together. And we decided we were going to take all the kids on a trip down to where I grew up, Marion, Virginia, and we're going to have them do a nice project there, and we were going to have them sleep in a church, and it was going to be this great affair. So we had this meeting with all the parents. where we brought them all together and we just let them ask questions and talk about how it was all going to work, because their kids had never been on a trip like this, certainly never been this far with their previous youth directors. And so we let them ask all their questions, and one woman raises her hand near the end of it and just says, "I'll tell you right now why this isn't going to work." And she's like, "Listen, the van, those 15 passenger vans, they all flip over, and we could never fundraise enough money to fly down there, and sleeping in church is absolutely not acceptable for my children. So this is never going to work." And that was the tone that she took, and I've always remembered that phrase. "I'll tell you right now, this is never going to work." It was a moment, and we, tried to diffuse that question. And luckily, most of the other parents did not have the same issues that she had with the trip, and the trip went off successfully. The van did not flip over. Sleeping in the church was fine, and everyone lived happily ever after. But that every time I get in that funk where I'm just like, ugh, to everything, I remember that. "I'll tell you right now why this isn't going to work." There's a minister named Forrest Church who wrote a prayer many years ago about what he called sophisticated resignation. It's the idea that you can think, I'm so smart that I know that this is just never going to work out. And so rather than when approached with something you could be hopeful about, rather than actually being hopeful, you're just like, they'll never do that. I've seen everything and this is not going to work. And that way you kind of get like a twofer out of it. If this thing that you should be hopeful for happens and you were all cynical about it and it happens anyway, that's great. That thing that you wanted to be hopeful for happens. No big deal. But if the thing that you would have been hopeful for doesn't happen, then you were right. And that's kind of great too. And so that place of sophisticated resignation lets us sit in this like emotional distance from things where we're like, oh God, it's never going to work out. And so I'll read you a little bit of his prayer. His prayer says, "Let us awaken from the soul-crushing allures of sophisticated resignation and cynical chic, to savor instead the world of abundance and possibility that awaits just beyond the self-imposed limits of our imagination." And I think about that prayer, and that it is a very alluring place to be, and like this cynical place of like, I'm above it and I think that stuff's never going to happen. And what we're talking about today is essentially the opposite of that, of living in a mindset of blessing, rather than looking at things and saying, "I'll tell you right now why that isn't going to work." Instead, we're going to look at things and, try to see this as a world that is full of blessings. And so this thing that's coming, and even the possibility of something to be hopeful for, is in and of itself a blessing. And so our scriptures today, we have two. The first was from the Sermon on the Mount. And this is where Jesus is talking to a large group of people. This is pretty much the only like real sermon that we get that's both in Matthew and Luke, where he's talking to all these people, and he begins with these blessings. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek. And what he's doing is he's giving blessings and blessing people who do not feel blessed. These are the poor that are sitting around and looking for someone to save them. And he is saying that they are blessed, which is just not a thing that they would expect in any way. So he's turning around this idea of blessings, because to them, the expectation would be that people who are blessed are people who are doing well. And they are not doing well. And so by definition, they would not be blessed. Our second scripture of the day, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I'll do the best I can, is the Karanya Metta Sutta, which is a Buddhist scripture. And Sutta is like teaching, and Karanya means this is what should be done, and Metta is the word they use for loving kindness in the Pali tradition. So it's essentially, this is what should be done to develop loving kindness. And the story of this is, I think, really cool. And that is that a group of monks, and you know, this is one of those stories that might be true, but it's probably just the story that goes along with it. But the story that goes along with it is a group of monks were frightened by sprites in the forest where the Buddha asked them to meditate. And when the monks asked for the Buddha's aid in dealing with the sprites, the Buddha taught the monks the Metta Sutta as an antidote to their fear. And the monks recited that sutta over and over and felt better. And then their feeling better worked so well that it quieted the sprites around them and made the sprites feel better. And so I'll read you just a little bit of that. This is such a blessing here. It says, in the gladness, or wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease, whatever living things there may be, the great or mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Really love that blessing. And I have brought with me a blessing for all of you. I have a special guest star today. We have Jane Kramer, who is yet another awesome Warren Wilson College graduate and a musician right there from Asheville, who's going to be joining me today to play some music for you all. So Jane, why don't you talk about for a second who you are and what you're going to play?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Justin. This is a blessing for me. It's a bright spot in my week. And as you mentioned, I had the honor of attending Warren Wilson with your lovely wife, Jessica. And you and I never quite got to meet. I think we just crisscrossed. But I feel like I know you, and I'm a huge fan. So I am a singer-songwriter. I started my love of music as a young child. I came from a musical family, and really kind of got to nurture and hone my skills when I was at Warren Wilson. And my degree from Warren Wilson is in social work and women's studies, which I've done professionally for a handful of years, but always had a love for music, and just sort of made the shift to doing music full time and touring all over doing it about 5 years ago. So here I am in Asheville in my living room, as all of us are. My life looks a little different now because of the pandemic, so grateful to be able to share music like this. And so when Justin approached me about sharing some music with you all today, this song kind of, when he let me know about the theme of blessings, which I think is something so important for us all to sort of just focus and reflect on right now, this song of mine came immediately to mind. And little story behind it is that I had left Asheville after a lot of heartbreak. My marriage, after a long time, broke up. The band I was part of broke up in a painful way. My dearest friend passed away, and I lost my job, all within about a 6-month period. And I moved across the country to try to just heal and get some space. But I missed Asheville the whole time. These mountains are just my dirt. And when I started feeling the stirrings of, can I return home? And I felt like that was on the horizon for me. I took a beautiful trip to Italy and got to meet a songwriter that I've long admired, and received some, face-to-face mentorship from her. And she heard my music and told me that it was deliciously self-deprecating. And she challenged me to write a song in which I forgive myself and recognize that I do hold love for myself, even when I don't feel it or see it. And so she challenged me to write my hymn, whatever that meant for me, and to really attempt to love myself and be aware of the blessing that I myself am in this song. And I was in this incredibly gorgeous place. I was on a mountaintop in Italy. It doesn't get much prettier than that. And the fireflies were out, and there's olive trees. And I had a really, really stark realization that I couldn't even absorb these blessings around me without first realizing that I myself is a blessing and my life is a blessing. And a little shift happened inside me, and I did feel a little more of that love and was able to soak in more of the love around me. And it's been a beautiful lens to look through from then forward, to be like, you know, how can I be a blessing today? And so here's my hymn. My hippie mama didn't make me go to church, but I find God in the fireflies and digging through the dirt. I can't sit in no office chair, I got grass stains on my shirt. Well, my hippie mama didn't make me go to church, so I ain't wasting time in a scratchy Sunday dress. I'll be wearing thin, this tattooed skin, whatever time I've got left. And before I meet my maker, I wanna make something of this mess. But I ain't wasting time in a scratchy Sunday dress. Now I'm done calling it love when it's just bruises on my thighs, and I'm done drinking to numb that lonely stepped on child. I am the olive leaf, I am her silver underside. I am the ember of God, lights up the firefly.
Thank you, Jane. That was beautiful. And I love that image of the ember of God that lights up the fireflies. You know, there are all these little things like that that are such a blessing. Last year, I got to take my kids to go see a place up in the Blue Ridge Mountains where there were just a ton of fireflies, and they were lit up by how wonderful it was to see that little bit of light flashing off in the darkness, like just like the little bits of things that we can see around us that bless us, you know. And so I was thinking about this idea of blessing, and I think there are three major ways that we can embrace blessing. And the first is just to recognize that this life that we're living in and of itself is a blessing from God. That this, you know, it's easy to look at the things that are happening right now and see, you know, what is hardest on you, and what is most pressing in terms of like, what am I worried about right now, and miss all of the things around us that are, you know, that are there to bring us joy. You know, like I was just kind of lamenting with my wife a couple of days ago that I think I spend all my time cleaning up after my children and not getting to play with my children, you know, and so I'm missing that blessing of this time. Like I just want to go outside and throw a baseball or something like that. But instead I'm picking up kinetic sand in the floor or something like that, you know. And so trying to see this world and this life that we have as a blessing is one of the great ways we could embrace blessing that would help change the way we see the world around us. And the second one, and I think this is a kind of a hard one to think about, but is to embrace the idea that we are able to give blessings to others. And I know, like, especially with ministers, that there's like this idea of like some people can bless people, but some people can't bless people. And I don't think that's how God works. You know, I don't think any of us have the like laser beam hands where we can go and make like a blessing happen for someone. The reality is that we can use our words, and we can use our presence, or we could use a card or a call to show someone that we recognize that ember of God that is inside them. you know, that the blessing of God that is already there. And we can give someone that gift of just recognizing that we see that and that we feel that they are blessed. And the third way, while I think it makes a little more sense, but it might just be the hardest. And that is what Jane was talking about, this recognizing that we are indeed a blessing. That, you know, it's very easy to look at someone else and think that person is a good person, that person is a blessing. It is very hard to look at yourself, knowing what you know about who you are, and to say, I am a blessing too. But I think that is what God calls us to do. Each and every one of us was frightfully and wonderfully made. And we are called to recognize that and live by that blessing that we have been given in ourselves in this life. Jane, you want to play a little more for us?
Just had to get out of my own way to find my home. It was right here in my guitar, been rubbing against it all along. It didn't take a lover to put me back inside my bones. Just had to get out of my own way to find my home. And now I'm gonna swing this hammer like you ain't never seen. I've got railroad ties and jasmine vines on the walls of my dreams. I've spent years apologizing for a heart that's true and clean. And now I'm gonna swing this hammer like you ain't ever seen. And I'm done calling it love when it's just bruises on my thighs. And I'm done drinking to numb that lonely stepped on child. I am the olive leaf, I am her silver underside. I am the ember of God, lights up the firefly.
Now, John O'Donohue wrote a book called To Bless the Space Between Us several years ago. And in it, he had a blessing that he used to begin each day for himself. And I'm going to read that to you now. His blessing was, may I have the courage today to live the life that I would love, to postpone my dream no longer, but do at last what I came here for, and waste my heart on fear no more. It is time to let go of fear and let go of cynicism and distance and embrace this idea of blessing. We are blessed, even in the midst of this coronavirus moment and this social upheaval moment. We are blessed to go through this, to find our way through this, to help, I think, bring us to a place that is better at the end of this. And it might feel good to say, I'll tell you right now why this isn't going to work. But it is important to move past that, to hope, to be willing to say, I don't know if this thing's going to happen. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I bless us, and I bless me, and I bless this world in moving toward something better. I have faith that God is with us, that we are not alone, and we're going to find a way through. You are called to live a life that is a blessing, not only to you, but a blessing to others around you. As Jane says, you are the ember of God that lights up the fireflies. Now, this would not be a sermon about blessing people without giving it a shot. So, Jane, if you're ready, I'm going to give you a blessing. Does that work for you?
I love it.
All right. Jane, may you have the courage today to live the life that you would love, to postpone your dream no longer, but do at last what you came here for and waste your heart on fear no more.
Can I bless you back?
Yes.
Okay, Justin. May you have the courage today to live the life that you would love, to postpone your dream no longer, but do at last what you came here for and waste your heart on fear no more.
Thanks, Jane. All right. And to all of you out there, this one is for you. May you have the courage today to live the life that you would love, to postpone your dream no longer, to do at last what you came here for and waste your heart on fear no more. Now get out there and swing your hammer. Jane?
Now I'm gonna swing this hammer like you ain't never seen. I got railroad ties and jasmine vines on the walls of my dreams. I've spent years apologizing for a heart that's true and clean. But now I'm gonna swing this hammer like you ain't ever seen. And I'm done calling it love when it's just bruises on my thighs. And I'm done drinking to numb that lonely stepped-on child. I am the olive leaf, I am her silver underside. I am the Ember of God, lights up the fireflies.
Thanks, Jane. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have fun.
Thank you, Justin, for your timely message and a reminder that others can bless us, but we can also bless others. That is just one of the ties that binds us as a spiritual community. I have a couple of announcements. If you're looking for a community that looks at life through a spiritual lens without dogma, would you like to make friends with a group of people who believe a wide variety of things about what matters in life, yet don't judge others for believing something different? Then check out our website at UULakeNorman.org. We hope you enjoyed our service today. If you're a visitor, if you're not a member and would like information about becoming one, please contact Linda Heidingberg. Her email address should be listed on the link, or you can call her. We have some new members. We're so glad to have Darla Davis, Claudia Perkinson, and Alan Perkinson as our new members. Nancy Embry has a new grandson, Fritz Hudson Elbick, who came into this world weighing 8 pounds, 15 ounces, and we're so happy for and with Nancy. We have some unfortunate bad news. If you hadn't heard it, Mike Alec, our musician's brother, passed away in an accident. Our sympathy goes out to Mike and his family at this time. They have declined the offers of visits or food because of the pandemic scare, and we respect their privacy as well. We do encourage people to send him condolence cards, if you will, and the address is in our newsletter. If you have other joys and sorrows that you'd like to get shared with our community, contact Nancy Embry or Natalie Helling. It's a reminder that if you haven't voted, you need to vote. It's probably too late to mail an absentee ballot, but you can still hand deliver them to the election office. But if you haven't voted, please, for goodness sakes, vote on Tuesday. We encourage you to continue to reach out to our fellow members to just make sure that we keep our contacts. It's so important that we have these virtual services so that we are having a reminder that we're out there, we're here for each other, and to emphasize once more what Justin said is that we bless others and others bless us. That's a part of why we are a community. I've enjoyed being your worship assistant today. I'd like to provide some closing words. These are anonymous. We are never complete. We're never finished. We are always yet to be. May we always allow others to be and help and enable each other to grow toward all that we are capable of becoming. Amen. Namaste. Go in peace, friends.